Yeah, you reckon he'd be a stoner?
No, he seems like the opposite.
Yeah, that's true.
He
definitely needs to be a fucking stoner. Have you seen the video of him yelling at people on the on that private jet? Like, Murdoch Media went on this whole, like, rampage, you know, when they were trying to, like, remove him from power and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, since Rupert Murdoch, obviously being an American, owns the Australian media, like 90% of Australian media, he tried to remove, like, the whole campaign was like, oh, Kevin Rudd is a narcissist, he's a horrible person.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge thing, narcissist.
Yeah, and then they just showed that video of him, like, yelling at people on this private jet or whatever and go, oh, see, he's so fucking, like, crazy or whatever. And,
my friend killed himself after that. Like, he's a terrible person.
Yeah, but it was just really, like, obviously all to put Julia Gillard in power, who absolutely sucked, which, yeah.
I think that was more intra-party things, though.
But the Americans definitely had people planted in the Labour Party.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and they probably still do, but it's a lot less clear-cut than, like, the Gough Whitlam affair, and we're going back to last episode's points.
So, if you guys are interested in that Gough Whitlam thing, watch last episode.
Yeah. Which isn't out.
Yeah, which will be out by the time I get it edited. I was editing the whole thing, took me like 2 hours to edit, and realised that the software that I was using wouldn't let me export it without paying like $15 a month or something, which is completely ridiculous. We don't have that kind of money yet. So
yeah, we should set up a Patreon.
Yeah,
it's like, give us money
for
when feet pics.
Yeah, when your foot OnlyFans takes off.
Yeah, when my size 14 feet, too extra wide.
Yeah, that's when we'll start taking off.
Yeah.
But anyway, definitely check out that last episode. We talked about Gough Whitlam and everything. We also made sure to go on a feminist rant and talk about
just to get the Swifties on our side.
Yeah, and talk about anti-Semitism and how it's bad or whatever. So,
so now when this guy ever makes any jokes whatsoever, he can just cite the source of the first episode so that he can clarify.
So every anti-Semitic degenerate thing I say from now on, if someone brings it up, I can just be like, well, it's out of context.
Yeah.
No, you've got
it's just joking, primarily, and people don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm not anti-Semitic or anything, but you got to do, it's a 3-step plan, right? I call it the Tate plan. You know, that's what Andrew Tate does. First thing you do, you just deny you ever said it. Trump does the same thing. Yeah. Deny you ever said it, even if it's on video and you've said it multiple times. Just never said that. And then when it becomes obvious that you clearly did say that, say it's out of context. They take it out of context.
Yeah.
And then once you say that they've taken it out of context, you need to make sure that you say, "Oh, they're just attacking me and they're taking me out of context." Yeah, exactly. Because I'm telling the truth. And then you'll have like a bunch of like white men that have never got their dick sucked, just like defending you because they're angry at the world and angry at women and all that.
Yeah. It's funny. It's always the conservatives as well. Well, I mean, there is Antifa, and that's them as well. Probably can't offend them because they'll find out where we live.
No.
They're online too much, mate.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to get big and buff, like those German Maoists.
Mate, like I'm 6'2", you're 6 foot.
Yeah.
We're like stronger than average.
No. I'm gonna like pump steroids, absolutely abuse steroids, just so I can get big like those like German Maoist groups. I need to search out what the name of the party is.
Then you'll be stronger than me, and I'll be like, please protect.
But there's this German Maoist, like, communist party.
Oh, yeah, the iceberg. Yeah, the Maoists in Germany, right? All the other leftists hate them. I looked this up. And I was talking to fella about this. They go around on May Day, which is basically the German workers' holiday. Hitler made it, and then the day after, he killed all the trade unions.
Yeah, this was 100 years ago, though.
Yeah, okay, 100 years ago. A bit of a loose reference. And on May Day, they just beat up anarchists.
Yeah.
And they get arrested and everything.
Yeah, so now 6 of the top party members in this German Maoist party are all arrested, so the party has, like, closed operations or whatever. But at their peak, it was just a bunch of, like, half of them were immigrants, like second, like, generation immigrants from, like, either Turkey or from, like, Eastern Europe, like, communist countries. And they all, like, are just so ripped and buff.
It's unnatural.
Yeah, and exactly. And they're just, like, all the pictures I've seen of them, they're all, like, tanned up and oiled up. And they're just, like, absolutely huge, definitely abusing steroids, half of them. But then they just go around on May Day and beat the shit out of all these, like, leftists. Because their justification is that all the other leftist parties, pretty much, are all just, like, progressive liberals that think that they're leftists, even though they don't care about socialism. They only care about, like, LGBT issues and all sorts of like progressive issues. Like we were talking about last episode.
Yeah, even though I don't know if this guy's going to see it, but on our first recording, because, you know, that all got deleted, it all got corrupted. On that first recording, for like a solid hour, we talked about that hot take. So he's probably going to see the first pod and he's going to be like...
That poor guy. He gave us a hot take, which was so good. It was about
so good.
leftist groups promoting trans and gay issues over like class warfare. And we talked about it for like an hour and a half and all those sort of intricate details. And then it all got corrupted. If you watch the first episode, you'll know about this. And then by the time we got back to it in the second recording, we just like kind of talked about it for like 10 minutes and moved on because we couldn't be bothered.
Well, you should bring that guy into the pod.
Yeah, that poor guy. We definitely need to make it up to him.
Yeah, we owe him.
We lost so much. We had it he would have been so happy if we had that hour and a half of us just ranting about his hot take.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, so I'm trying to get big and buff like those German Maoists anyway, just so I don't have to. All those Antifa guys that we piss off are just like, if they rock up, just beat them down.
Could they do anything? Like,
they'll smash my window.
It's like the Gypsy Crusader.
Yeah.
They just doxed him.
Yeah. But nah, you know, like the anarchists that just go around smashing people's windows in.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about Australia is that we don't really have them.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We don't even have a fully operational anarchist party in this country.
It's...
I talked to like some of the anarchist like subgroups, like because I talked to a bunch of radicals. Like I talked to Islamists, anarchists, like obviously the communists from all sorts of ranges of communism. But yeah, the anarchists I talked to, they're all in these like different fringe groups, and none of them can form an actual.
Trotskyists.
Yeah, same with the Trotskyists. But like,
you know the Trotskyists at Sydney Uni.
Oh no! Explain this to the.
Oh yeah. So all right, everybody. Sydney Uni, it's in Australia, it's all good and dandy, but we've actually got like student elections at unis. So like you've got Young Labour running, you've got the Stalinists, but there's a group of people called the Trotskyists. Now, nobody likes the Trotskyists at all.
Everyone knows about Trotskyists.
Yes,
yeah,
they're a cult there. You're not allowed to date other Trotskyists.
You're not allowed to date.
You're not allowed to date. No, you're not allowed to date people who aren't Trotskyists.
So they're just inbreeding with the other Trotskyist parties.
So maybe that's why Trotskyists nowadays are like that. They're just inbred.
Well, to be fair, Leon Trotsky did look pretty inbred himself.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, with like I've talked to Maoists and Leninists and all that. Like, you always talk to, like, say if every Maoist I've talked to, you go, oh, who are the 5 like most important Marxist figures? Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, Mao. You can ask a million Maoists, and they'll all say the same 5 names.
You can ask most people.
Yeah. You ask 100 Trotskyists who are the 5 guys of Marxism, and some of them will be like, oh, Rosa Luxemburg or Kautsky, or just a bunch of random names like this, like those guys that they've just been interested in reading at that time. Like, there's no actual foundational like evolution of the theory. Like within Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, I'll talk about that because that's sort of my
forte.
Yeah. But you have Marx, who then after he died, Engels, and during his life obviously, Engels sort of built off Marx's ideas. Marx is like sort of the, you know, Marx and Engels were sort of the founding sort of philosophy, and then Lenin built upon that after the revisionists in Germany sort of started taking Marx's ideas and incorporating them with liberalism, and then Stalin, after Lenin's death, founded the concept of Marxism-Leninism, like a cohesive school of thought. And then obviously there was a lot of like ML revisionists. So then you know, in the Soviet Union, when that turned to revisionism and everything, so then Marx's Leninist Mao Zedong thought was this sort of breakaway from that revisionist. And then after Mao's death, I think the Shining Path in Peru founded the concept of Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, which is a cohesive understanding.
Shining Path?
Yeah.
What's that?
They're like a communist group in Peru that's fighting the civil war at the moment.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. And they eat babies.
They eat babies.
It's you wouldn't get it.
Is it just propaganda?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because, alright, so you know TF2?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But one time there was this teacher, right, and we were going over propaganda for World War One, and he looked up soldier propaganda. But there was this event outside of game in TF2 where there was Soldier vs. Demoman, and whoever got the most kills in the game would get an update on them. And Valve also held competitions for like, whoever can make the coolest propaganda posters will get prizes.
Yep.
It was really fun. And there was a soldier propaganda post saying soldiers eat babies, and there was a picture of him. Yeah. And it was so good. It was so good that he didn't realise.
The propaganda posters that Britain made during World War I against the Germans were like, oh yeah, the Germans, they throw babies up in the air and use them for bayonet practice. And it's like, what? Why? Why would anybody do this?
Well, I mean, they had complete control over the media in US because they cut the transatlantic cable.
Yeah, so the same stuff used, like, obviously today, when you see, like, the, why are we even talking about this? But anyway, when the Gulf...
We haven't even got to our first point.
When the Gulf War happened, you know, the whole babies in incubator story, you know about that?
No.
So the, one of the embassy leaders, I think it was, his daughter... like the Kuwaiti embassy leader, his daughter went to the US like Congress and spoke about her experience of seeing the Iraqis take babies out of incubators and throw them on the floor when they invaded they invaded Kuwait. And it turns out she made it all up, and that she was like, surprisingly, she had very good English for a Kuwaiti. But
oh, really?
Yeah, but it turned out it was all fake, and it was all used as a justification for the Gulf War. But
no, the justification was that they needed oil.
Yeah.
I think that's justification enough.
Yeah, but for the American people, they needed justification.
Oh, of course, because they don't realise, we don't need oil, our cars run on patriotic fervour.
Yeah, no. They all have pussy fucking Teslas anyway. They're all women now, driving Teslas, driving pink little Teslas. Like
me, I drive in my BMW and just run over minorities.
Yeah, no, I have a big truck.
Keep that part in. It's funny.
I need my truck to be as big as possible to make up for my tiny penis.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that
definitely.
Way everyone goes, oh, look at that guy in a truck.
That's why we've got American trucks here in Australia now that dwarf the size of other cars. Yeah. And I've seen memes online like, oh my god, these guys are such pussies for saying American cars. Yeah, they're not wrong. They're terrible. You cannot see children in them. Yeah. You cannot see grown men in them. They just run them over. Like, that's my country.
Especially when they're like 5'9" and they're driving the biggest truck possible. You can't even see them over the windshield.
Yeah, I don't know why the smallest guy drives the truck
to make up for his
stroke, but also height.
Yeah, that's true. It's just like short man syndrome gone too far. But like, you know, the rules don't apply to you when you have the biggest car on the road. Because what's going to happen if you just go over the speed bump like fifth gear?
That's why. Over everyone else. That's why I keep a pipe pistol in my hand drawer at all times.
But we're going to get raided. They're just going to raid us the second you say, I have a pistol.
Pipe pistol. That means I've made it out of various materials. It's not. I don't actually have one.
Yes. Okay. Clarify. We don't have any weapons. Like we said in the last episode. We're Trump supporters. We're just laughing as socialists.
I'm a social democrat. I'm a moderate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You need to make that disclaimer again before we get into the.
Yeah, I am a Labour. We should make that disclaimer every episode.
Every episode. You just
I am a Labour guy. Labour Party because they're the best.
Every episode's gonna start with, I'm a moderate. I'm a social democrat. I love America. I want
Bernie Sanders.
I want to suck Trump's mushroom penis. I love him so much. I'm a MAGA supporter. I don't like communism. They're all bad. They're all evil. They just hate our freedom. Just like Osama.
Yeah.
But
just like him.
We definitely need to make that disclaimer before we start talking about the Iran-Contra Affair.
And like me making jokes that I've got pipe pistols.
Yeah. Oh shit. I think Asia's already probably watching me.
Well, they don't care about me because I'm literally a social democrat. That's like my thing.
Yeah.
All right.
You're caught up with me now. You're an affiliate.
Oh yeah.
When they frame me for terrorism someday, you're gonna be like the affiliate guy.
You better not drag me into that. It's like, there's this one guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. If Asia takes me any day, or like I get arrested for something, I'm definitely gonna be like, you know what?
You can.
I have to play that. Well, my mate Sprinkles. Yeah, he actually gave me the idea to do that. Yeah, even if I didn't do it, because that's what happened when during Margaret Thatcher's era in Britain. She just tortured a bunch of Irish prisoners.
Oh, of course.
And then just made them confess to a bunch of... Like, the Brighton bomber, he didn't plant the bomb, but he, under, like, duress and torture, he confessed to planting the bomb. and then he got out during the Good Friday Agreement, luckily. But he said he admitted afterwards that I was involved in the planning of the attack, but I didn't plant the bomb.
Okay, so here's what's the legal term? We know this. This is on our test. Accessory to the fact?
Accessory to the fact. Yeah, but prior, though. It's not accessory after the fact, it's accessory prior to the fact. Well,
yeah, because it's not second, his planning.
Yeah, he planned the thing, but he didn't plant the thing.
Let me look this up.
He planned it, but he didn't plant the bomb.
We're so screwed.
Yeah.
What is the legal term in Australia for somebody who planned a criminal act?
Asking Siri.
Conspiracy. Here. No, but that's planning, not...
Yeah, no, but he got done in anyway for planting it, even though he didn't. And he admitted that he was involved in it, but he didn't plant the bomb himself. But Margaret Thatcher, the reason I bring up Margaret Thatcher is because today we're going to be talking about Ronald Reagan, the neoliberal in America, who, during the same time period as Margaret Thatcher, brought neoliberalism to America.
Yeah, under, what's his name? Milton Friedman of the Chicago School of Economics. And all of his theories, like the Austrian business cycle, man.
Yeah, and the whole idea that money will just start falling from the sky if you let rich people get away with not paying their taxes.
That's literally what they think. Trickle-down economics. It just trickles down to the poor people.
Yeah.
They just go, now that I've got more money... It's not like my goal is to get more money in the first place. I'm just going to give it to all the people of the world, all those starving African children.
No, it definitely works. As seen by the rising income inequality, homelessness, other issues and crises of capitalism.
We've got to get that elbow.
Oh yeah, we're putting
painting picture.
We just seen the I have a.
It's so good.
Yeah, I have a painting of Albanese on my wall that one of my mates did up for me 2 years ago. So when we start getting the camera on for these podcasts, you're gonna see that in the background here behind us.
I've never realized how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just it's the reason...
His so shirt, his tie is like fire.
Yeah.
There's demons fighting.
There's a picture of Albanese, basically a painting of him, but he's super buff, like roided up, and there's like veins like as thick as my arm, just on his arms and everything.
He's got a black teardrop tattoo.
Yeah, huge titties, like teardrop tattoos. Still has the glasses, and is like he's so like huge that his tie has just ripped. And there's just fire and stuff behind him.
Yeah, and there's demons is fighting. Yeah.
You'll see it on the back of the in the back of the podcast when we start getting the camera.
I'm not going to do the face reveal for a bit though.
Okay, that's cool.
So
you don't want to get murked already.
Well, it's not that I'm going to get murks. You're more likely, if anything. But there's so many more people who are more likely than you because you haven't actually done anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's people.
That's because I'm a Trump supporter.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, because I'm just laughing as a communist. Yeah, this is all just a elaborate bit, just joshing around. So if ASIO's watching this,
I think there's a lot more difficult conservative people who, would stab somebody or whatnot, and they've got to deal with them first.
Well, they don't even care. I mean, they let white supremacists run wild in most situations.
Not in New South Wales, at least, because remember those neo-Nazis ran around and they're like, hey, you stop it, and they did the same thing as always.
Yeah, but the second a leftist poses, because leftism actually poses a severe threat to the current establishment, when the
patriarchy.
Yeah, when neo-Nazis and all that, they can run rampant because...
Oh, we talked about the patriarchy on the first recording.
With 6-4, by the way, when we talked about patriarchy and how that was established. Probably don't want to go into the whole history of that again.
We've got to talk about the Iran-Contra Affair.
Yeah. So anyway, loop back. We're just ranting, but loop back.
This is just 75%.
Ronald Reagan. The money's gonna fall from the sky if you just let Elon not pay his taxes. He's such a great guy. He's so cool. Don't make him pay taxes. The poor little man that the poor little billionaire being exploited by the big old bad government trying to take his taxes to fund healthcare and all that nonsense. You don't need healthcare, right? You can go into debt if you stub your toe. That's completely normal. You don't need free healthcare. You need the worst education system in the West. You need all the homelessness, rising homelessness, income inequality that's just so unimaginable that the French Revolution cracked under 2% of what the income inequality is now.
They've had so many revolutions, man. At least that's a good thing about France. They just such
Literally every protest, they're just burning down buildings over like the littlest
yeah,
things.
and farmers pouring all their manure on government buildings, like, this is for the 2% tax, I don't know, something.
Yeah. They tried upping the retirement age or something.
Oh, by 2 years?
Yeah, and then they started burning everything.
I think retirement age should be higher. Because I intend to, as well as other people in my family, work until we die.
That's the Irish way of things, is just keep working till you
But you don't have any purpose. Your purpose is to work. Of course, much more leisure time, like maybe working much less, but I'm still going to work.
Yeah, but you get the point that, like, you always have the choice to not retire.
Yeah,
but
except
when they up the retirement age, you don't get the choice to retire younger. So they basically just work you till your death.
But I think that's why superannuation is important for retirement.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think they should up the superannuation in Australia so that when you're in retirement, the government, well, you don't have to rely on the government as much. And it puts a lot more load of them. Like in America, they're paying veterans and everything. Like, hey, sorry for the PTSD. Here, have 100 quid. And they're like, I see things.
And in America, it's like, still no free healthcare. Go fuck yourself.
They pay more for healthcare than so many other countries. It's just that it goes into the pockets of their friends and everything.
Oh, the rich people.
And then the insurance companies.
Yeah, because neoliberalism works perfectly. It's a great system. But
if they cut money from health, it wouldn't do much.
Yeah, no, literally. They have this is why America spends more on the military than the next 10 countries below it. They spend so much more on healthcare. They spend more money on education, I assume, too. But it all sucks because of neoliberalism. Basically, they don't trust the government with anything, and they just let billionaires go rampant, because if billionaires make more money, the money will somehow trickle down. It doesn't make sense.
This is for the annual glazing session of, what's his name, Dick Smith again?
Oh,
He is a good millionaire. After he achieved his required amount of $200 a week, he just stopped. He just stopped trying to get more money. And he went through all these trips over the world. He made... I've talked about this last episode, but he was deleted. He's so cool. I love him.
That's good.
We should get him on... If I glaze him every single episode, he's going to notice eventually and he's going to come on. And
it's in the original episode where we discuss whether he'd be possibly too demented to realise that he's on a podcast.
He's not like demented. He seems spry, at least.
No, it would actually be sick. But, we definitely need to loop back. We spent way too much time ranting.
But we just lose ourselves. Alright, Iran-Contra Affair.
Iran-Contra Affair. We need... Ooh!
Loop back!
Loop back! Time to loop back. Let's loop back. Oh, that definitely peaked.
Yep. Iran-Contra Affair. So Reagan sells weapons to Iran.
We need background context before we get into it.
Even more?
Yes, sir. So, Reagan, he comes to power, right? And he goes on this whole thing. It was during the Cold War. You guys understand the Cold War. You're all communists, you probably understand the Cold War. But there was this thing, right, where Russia and America, they didn't like each other.
Really?
No, they didn't like each other.
But I thought we were all we loved each other.
Yeah, so they thought they were bad, and then the other guy was like, no, actually you're bad, and then they
made nukes.
Yeah, and then they sent people to space. They sent a dog to space too, and that dog died. Yeah, that's.
They've actually got a relative of the dog, I think.
Oh, sure. Because apparently...
I think
Laika, Laika.
It translates to, like, bark in Russian, like woof.
Yeah. But it was like a street dog off the streets of Moscow, and they just sent us... We're ranting again. Okay.
Wait, anyway. Before we finish the rant, that's like naming a Greens Party member Wine. It's like just something they do a lot, like cry or complain about nothing.
Or bitch, bitch, like a little pussy.
We're keeping this part.
Yeah, no.
Just making an enemy of every single Green.
Yeah. And fuck Antifa too, yeah. Anyway, Reagan's administration, basically, they ran on this whole thing of being like really anti-communist, and that was their like whole deal. And Reagan said he would not negotiate with terrorists. This comes in later because he negotiated with terrorists. Crazy. Yeah. Don't trust a man for his word, especially when he's Ronald Reagan, for fuck's sake.
Oh, that's what, in Tropic Thunder, that's what Tom Cruise says. Yeah. He dresses up as a Jew. Yeah. Like, super massive hands, hairy arms, and it's like, go fuck yourself. We don't negotiate with terrorists. Oh, pardon my language, I don't swear much.
Oh, yes.
This is child-friendly.
Yes, very,
and then I brought out my punk pistol.
And then we committed domestic terrorism, but there was a Somoza dictatorship, right?
Yeah.
In Nicaragua, which is the country we're focusing on. Now, for you Americans, Nicaragua is like a little south of Texas.
Well, it is.
I'm not sure where you think Texas is, but in your head, just they don't really understand geography very well.
Yeah, no, it is below, but it's below Mexico.
Yes,
so they're basically Mexican.
So when Mexico, big bad guys jumping the border, basically them, but just further south.
Think
they're
Mexican.
Like Mexicans on steroids.
Think tea, like normal tea. You got black tea, but you dilute it with milk. They're like blacker tea.
Yeah. So it's like you take the milk out of they don't drink tea though.
Oh yeah, they usually
basically
drink Coke.
If you bred two Mexicans together and you got like a super Mexican, that's what Nicaraguans are.
Yeah,
they're just a super Mexican.
Yeah, Mexicans. Coke has so much power in certain towns that they can only drink Coke, and it's terrible for their health because they can't get water.
They can't get clean water.
And then the Coke still pumps out the water.
Damn. But yeah. Anyway, so in Nicaragua, which is like we said, South Mexico, they had this government which was backed by America called the Somoza dictatorship. But guess what? These bad communist lefties, yucky, they overthrew the Somoza government because everyone hated the Somoza government.
It's called a dictatorship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
But they overthrew the dictatorship and basically they started ruling. But then Ronald Reagan really liked these guys called the Contras, who were basically just committing like all sorts of atrocities in the country.
War crimes and everything.
Yeah. But Ronald Reagan said that they were the moral equivalents of the founding fathers of the USA, which is quite fitting because the founding fathers of the USA owned a bunch of slaves.
I mean, they weren't. The founding fathers were so much better than the current US government, even the Democrats, because even Benjamin Franklin was like, I don't think it's alright to have slaves, but he doesn't want to set a precedent. He was too busy. If they had just abolished slavery then, it would have been so much easier though.
Yeah, but they all benefited off slavery because they're all...
But
they were also young too. Because people don't realise it, but they were all in their 30s and like all that. And then
they die at like 60.
Yeah, and then all the presidents today are like decrepit old men that just have been raping women for like 40 years.
So if you got that 6'4", red-headed, with fake horse teeth,
George
Washington, he'd go like, time to kill.
Yeah.
He would kill.
He'd see teeth as mental,
he would see Congress and he would just freak out. He would just start tweaking and killing. Pulling out his musket, slowly doing it. Here, take this. It's a semi-automatic.
And then all the people in Congress would pull out their own guns that are like, because they're all American, they all have guns just shoved up their arsehole all the time, just ready. Second Amendment, brother!
I reckon if George Washington were magically summoned in New York, it wouldn't take him long to find a semi-automatic. He'd just walk into a Walmart and he'd go, what is this fine weapon? That is a semi-automatic. If you put it like... You can
Let me find some Indians!
you can kill 27 immigrants or whatever with this. They're lesser than us, don't worry.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a fine weapon. In my time in America, we were all immigrants. That's very nice to say, George Washington. But just go over to Congress, kill them, like that.
Yeah, this weapon has been battle tested. It can kill 32 immigrants per second.
It's so funny though, America started as just immigrants. So if you're talking like that...
Australia started as immigrants too.
But more so slave-ish labour.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going on tangents again. But basically, Reagan said these guys were like the moral equivalent of the founding fathers or whatever, and basically wanted to shut off any Soviet influence in the Western Hemisphere by shutting down any sort of communist or socialist-friendly government in any of the Latin American countries. So we'll talk about the Chile coup in the future, and there's a coup in Brazil and everything as well. But
I like Brazil.
Yeah, basically in 1984, Congress.
1984.
Yeah, literally 1984. Literally in 1984, Congress, sick of the Contras, human rights abuses, passes the Boland Amendment. Now, the Boland Amendment bans U.S. funding of Contras, which was a direct blow to Reagan's ambitions in the country to overthrow the socialist government.
Now, that would have been Republicans as well who voted against that.
Yeah, but Reagan was super Republican. This was
he made the new Republicans basically.
He basically drove them like to what they are today. But Reagan illegally circumvented the Congress by funneling money to the Contras despite the Boland Amendment, because obviously he wasn't going to let no government tell him what to do. Government bad, big government bad. Let Reagan do everything. Don't make people pay taxes. He did this by
selling weapons to Iran.
So this is where Iran comes in. But Reagan secretly approved selling arms to Iran, which was he declared as being the axis of evil, like an enemy state of America. North Korea, Iran, Soviet Union, axis of evil, all bad countries.
I just don't like them. They're too small.
Yeah, they don't deserve to exist at that size.
Are they named after Rosa Luxemburg?
No, it's different spelling, and definitely not.
Oh yeah, just highest GDP in the world, luxuries.
Yes, the highest GDP per capita in the world. But basically, Reagan publicly, he called them the axis of evil, but then also he was funneling them weapons so that he could get that money and then use that to help fund the Contras, who were also committing human rights abuses and all sorts of war crimes in Nicaragua. But he used the excuse that he was only doing what the Iranians wanted him to do because Hezbollah, which is this group in Lebanon, which I'm sure we all know about today, but Hezbollah was just starting out at this time in the 1980s, and they had taken, during the Lebanese Civil War, some American citizens as hostage. So Reagan obviously wanted these hostages back, and he said, he
didn't care, dead or alive.
Yeah, but he said, we want the hostages back. That's the only reason I give weapons to Iran. But funnily enough, he was funneling weapons to Iran before the hostages were ever taken anyway. But
so those weapons...
And he only I think he only ever got one of the hostages back.
What happened to the rest?
I don't know. I read that somewhere. I was like, that's a bit odd. But yeah. Anyway,
media just glosses over it.
Yeah, and Oliver North, who's a big part of this, he's one of
bold.
Yeah, he's one of the high-ranking officials of the National Security Advisor. Robert McFarlane facilitated arms sales to Iran, using the proceeds to fund the Contras. So those two blokes, Oliver North and Robert McFarlane, were the two guys deeply involved in it. But the Reagan administration manipulates Iran into thinking it's building a relationship while still arming Iraq in the brutal
Why do you have to say that so
war.
American, Iraq?
Iraq and Iran. It's Iraq and Iran, but So basically, they were funneling weapons to Iraq at this time, which we'll talk about in a future episode. But Iran and Iraq were fighting each other, and millions died in this conflict. But Iraq, under Saddam Hussein, which was put in power by America, they were funneling him weapons while knowing full well that he was gassing the Kurdish population in his country. So they were funneling him weapons and everything to gas his own population, while also using chemical weapons against the Iranians as well. And they were also, at the same time, funneling weapons into Iran, like we've talked about.
Yes.
So basically funding both sides so they could kill each other.
And go through the chain of events that led to the Twin Towers.
So, America pretty much created ISIS because the founding members of ISIS were all in American prisons and radicalized by the Americans. And they basically created ISIS to fight the Shiite militants, which they had armed and propped up in Iraq following their invasion after 9/11, to fight Saddam Hussein's regime, which they toppled after putting Saddam Hussein in power and funding and arming him to fight Iran, which they also, as we discussed, funded and armed, so that they could use that money to funnel weapons into Contras, which were also committing human rights abuses. But basically, what were you saying? What was the question? It was something to do with 9/11.
Funnel it all back, how that led to it.
So basically, they put Saddam Hussein in power and then blamed him for weapons of mass destruction, which Netanyahu testified that he had weapons of mass destruction, which he didn't. There's a reason America had never invaded North Korea, is because they have weapons of mass destruction, and they've
got one nuke.
Yeah, but if they invaded North Korea would use the nuke.
Well, something that makes me sleep better at night is that radar has gone so advanced it can differentiate from decoy warheads and actual nuclear ones. Because one of the main problems was with radar, they couldn't tell. Okay, let me just tell you how ICBMs work. You know, they're in space for a bit, then they go back into the atmosphere, and they launch several different things. So it's hard to tell. They even launch confetti sometimes, and it just mess with the radar. But now radar is so advanced they can tell, and it can even put it on a ship to tell which one's the actual nuke.
So but yeah, the reason North Korea got weapons of mass destruction was so America wouldn't invade and kill a fifth of their population again.
Yeah, not again.
But there's a reason they never invade North Korea. And you ask Americans, like, oh, why'd you invade Iraq? And it's like, well, the weapons of mass destruction. And it's like, you're that dumb. Why hasn't America invaded North Korea? Oh, because of the weapons of mass destruction. They're a bit backwards. But anyway, the government basically lied to the people, saying that
Scotland forever!
Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction when he didn't. I don't know why we're going on this rant, but watch my video on 9/11 anyway. I have a video on my channel about 9/11 which will go into all sorts of detail about all of this. But basically, Saddam Hussein was put in power by the Americans anyway, and when they starved 500,000 children during...
You have to put that in. They were little kids, little boys.
They were all children. They were starved by American sanctions in Iraq during the 90s alone.
Yeah, because I guess Middle East and a lot of North African countries are almost solely reliant on grain from Europe, Ukraine.
Yeah.
And if that was cut, they're just gone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So America just starved 500,000 children.
Yes.
And then went, oh wow, Muslims are crazy. They all want to bomb us. They hate us for some reason. It's because we're free. And it's like, no, cunt. It's because you fucked up everything in that country.
You're going to have to retract that C slur.
Oh, I don't care.
Alright.
But anyway, the Reagan administration manipulates Iran into thinking it's, sorting relations with the country, even though they're funding their enemy at the moment, the war that's killing hundreds of thousands of their citizens. But a Lebanese newspaper in 1986 in November breaks the story of the arms sale to Iran. So the Reagan administration scrambles to cover up its tracks and starts removing a bunch of evidence and all of that. And Oliver North starts destroying the documents and all of that. And then Attorney General Edwin Meese admits that profits from arms sales were diverted to fund the Contras, exposing the illegal imperialist scheme that they were running the whole time.
It's technically high treason.
High treason.
Well. So not just treason.
Yeah. So basically, all of the underlings of the Reagan administration then come forward and admit what they did, so that way Reagan doesn't get indicted, and 11 people get indicted. And
then Reagan just...
Reagan still gets elected somehow, because the Americans are this brainwashed. This bloke has fucked up so much in their country, and he's committed high treason, and done all of this, and they're going, yep, vote him in again, because he nearly got shot, so they voted him in again.
I find it funny how Jimmy Carter's still alive. He's 100 now.
100?
Yes, he's 100.
Mental.
We should wheel him in, and it's just I remember Reagan! No! The capillaries, they're clogged.
He would definitely have a heart attack listening to us degenerates talking about
he just has some of the American Mountain
Dew. Oh, yeah.
It just dies.
Yeah, all the cancer from the American Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it gives you cancer.
I have my fridge stocked up with 20 different energy drinks. 5 bottles
That's degeneracy.
5 bottles of Coke, and then just American Mountain Dew that all has cancer in it.
How? How so?
Yeah, they have whatever products they use in America.
Artificial sugar.
Yeah,
there's a lot of artificial.
They're all carcinogenic. Half the ingredients in it are carcinogenic. Because America doesn't let the big bad government tell them what they can put in their own drinks.
Big government bad, small government
good. So they let private companies... Another problem of Reagan's.
Well, big government's only good when it helps corporate, entities intervene with workers.
Big government
like John Deere.
Big government is just the caveman explanation of social democracy. They just go, oh, it's bad because government, big government, scary, big government, big and...
It's literally like monkeys with clubs trying to go, big, megalophobia, bad.
Yeah, small, poor billionaire getting attacked by the big government. It's
and then the monkey thinks, perhaps one day I'll have 1 million bananas like him.
That's true. They're all just oh, I'm poor and I don't have any bananas on my tree. But someday the bananas will fall off that tree and come down to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically Reaganomics explained
Seriously, that's why so many people are capitalists. They just think, well, someday I could be
a
billionaire.
I don't want to tax the rich because I'm going to be rich one day because I signed up for Tate University and someday
it's a Discord server.
Someday that's going to work out for me, and you watch, I'll be a trillionaire, and then I'll be able to make all the money I want, and nobody will be able to tax me because the system's really bad. But don't fix the system or fight against it. You just gotta join it and make it even worse. And then the whole world's gonna burn. But don't worry about that. Anyway, all the people that got indicted for this, and the CIA was also using the Contras to buy cocaine off them. Because the Contras, basically, their whole thing, the reason they were able to fund all their war crimes was through the cocaine trade. And the CIA ended up using this to funnel cocaine for their operations and also funnel cocaine...
What do you mean for their operations?
So they were using the cocaine money to also fund other operations in other Latin American countries.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, because I've heard conspiracy theories where they sell cocaine in black neighborhoods.
They did. That's not a conspiracy.
I don't believe it.
Alright, we'll pull it up on a future episode.
Yeah.
But basically, that was also from the Contras. They got cocaine and funneled it into America... Basically, just to during the whole Reagan administration too. But anyway, that's pretty much the whole Iran-Contra Affair explained by two degenerates. But it's absolutely mental that he still got elected after that. And then George H.W. Bush, who got elected after Ronald Reagan, who was also a Republican like Ronald Reagan, pardoned all 11 people that got indicted for it. So nobody faced any sort of consequences. And Oliver North ended up becoming like this conservative media bloke
that was Fox News.
That was so successful for decades, and he even ran for Congress a few years ago. So just in case you didn't realize how fucked America is and how they let everything slide. This is the guy that so many Americans continue to defend.
I'm a social democrat. I'm a moderate.
Yeah, I'm just joking. I love Ronald Reagan. I have a poster of him beside my bed,
and it says hope.
Yeah, and I just kiss the poster every night before I go to sleep.
Just for good night.
Yeah.
Like, good night kiss. Shh.
Shh. Don't worry, Reagan. It's gonna trickle down someday. Then I go to sleep and make little Z's come out of my mouth like a cartoon
You know what
character.
I think would be really funny?
What's this?
So, you know how it's some way people used to clone. They get like an embryo or a cell of another thing. Then they just take out those genes, put in genes of another thing. What if you found Ronald Reagan's genes, put it in neuron, grew Ronald Reagan neurons, implanted and trained them to be like Ronald Reagan, but they're still in a petri dish, but they think they're Ronald Reagan, then you make them suffer for eternity. Like, just start... Because you can make neurons suffer by putting certain electrical impulses that are out of sync, and they start, like, collapsing. They're like, ah! The worst pain possible.
I'll be honest, I have no clue what you're talking about.
I'm just saying, we could biologically make a Ronald Reagan brain and torture it for eternity.
Isn't that what's happening to him in hell right now? With heaven trickling down?
Oh yeah, heaven. Let's hope heaven trickles down to him.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a torture method in the future.
Yeah.
Like, somebody put that in this sci-fi novel.
So basically, this whole thing is just to say how bad Ronald Reagan is.
Yeah.
He did a bunch of other stuff. He's the reason college is so expensive, university is so expensive in America, because before his time, black people were just outlawed from going to university.
Yeah.
And basically they had to stop doing that. And at the time, university was really cheap, so they decided, hey, black people are poorer than white people. If we just make it more expensive to go to university, black people can't go to university, white people go into university, and then white people end up being more successful than black people, and then we can put these white people into so much debt, so they just have to work for the rest of their life.
And that's why, they create a solution like it's easier for black people and other people to get into university than whites. That's not the solution. Like, you're just finding... You're not solving the root of the problem,
But they never want to solve the root of the problem.
And there's this whole thing where there are more Asians in university than anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an issue, but...
Yeah. But basically, they benefited off black people being poorer than white people, and now they benefit off, hey, if we just make these black people go into more debt, they'll never get out of this cycle of poverty.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then they just have to keep working and working and working till they drop dead, because we're just going to keep upping the age of retirement and never give them any healthcare or education.
And their student debt, their interest will just up and up.
Yeah. And what's he called? There was some black guy, I remember reading the story, some black guy, he wanted to be a footballer, because obviously in America, a lot of the only chance for these like
it's just
poor
sports.
communities is just to get brain damage playing some sport for the rest of their
It's like boxing,
short
basketball.
career. And they end up dying in their 40s or 50s. But basically this guy, he was like raising money to fund his like, education so he could go into sport. And some guy donated, some like rich conservative guy donated him a like lawnmower. And basically was like, oh, just mow lawns and you'll make enough money.
That is
And they calculated, some guy calculated, if he made $20 an hour or $30 an hour mowing lawns, how much more lawns he would have to mow just to make enough money to actually go. And it was like in the tens of thousands. I was like, fuck. They're so dumb, they're so brainwashed. And obviously the people at the top realise how fucked up the system is.
And they just not, no, you just gotta buckle down.
Yeah, you just gotta pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you'll get there someday.
Like, there are two ways you can be super rich nowadays. You can either have a really good idea, like intuitive, scientific, or
join Tate University.
That's the third option. The second option is just extorting people.
Yes, that's literally...
Like Microsoft, I guess... was their primarily software. They didn't really extort people. Bill Gates just went, what if we made Windows? Well, I guess he didn't. He was a nerd back then, so I can say that.
But he also started with a big loan, I think.
Yeah, his parents, he went to Harvard, dropped out. So I guess he was rich.
Yeah. No, but all the billionaires are like, self-made billionaires. All...
Not Dick Smith.
Yeah, I know. But all these self-made billionaires they talk about, like 98% or some of them, all started as millionaires.
Well, yeah, what?
Or it's not like...
It's like you gotta marry your cousins to keep the wealth in the family.
No, but that's the thing. They talk about, there's some billionaires, obviously, they just inherited from their family or whatever. And that's not all billionaires. But a lot of billionaires, their family was already rich, and then they used that wealth to expand on that wealth by exploiting even more people.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as a self-made billionaire, pretty much. And the very few that actually do become self-made billionaires, like Dick Smith, tend to be actually better guys because they actually have to work for some of the...
Yeah, plus he went to Scouts, Australian Scouts, so he learned good moral values.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah. Anyway, that's explanation of the Iran-Contra Affair. So,
You've got to admit, there's got to be some time where Dick Smith notices.
Oh,
like,
sure.
If we
just glaze him every single episode.
Every single one.
You've got to start each episode by, I'm a social democrat, don't kill me, I'm
Those
moderate.
Those are the two tropes of
I'm
every
moderate,
episode.
I want to suck Dick Smith, just slap him up.
Take out that part, he's an old man, he's going to feel disgusted by that.
Yeah, we're never getting on the podcast with that.
Yeah, no, like, just blazing.
But yeah, Congress, the aftermath and whitewashing basically is the last section I have here.
Whitewashing.
I have some dot points. Congress holds the Iran-Contra hearings. Oliver North becomes the media star held as a patriot despite blatantly admitting to illegal activities and high treason.
Super illegal acts. The most illegal possible.
Reagan popularity dips briefly, but mainstream media sanitizes the affair, blaming rogue actors rather than systemic imperialist problems. They basically just say, Reagan knew nothing about it. It was just some people that were just crazy doing their own thing. And Reagan just became popular again and won an election. But Reagan leaves office with his reputation largely intact thanks to the administration's propaganda machine and the complicity of the political establishments. Despite overwhelming evidence, key players like North and John Poindexter received minor consequences, later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush, like we talked about. US imperialism was left unchecked. Reagan still is seen by a lot of Americans as being this patriotic figure that, was defending America against communism even though he committed high treason. And the Contras terror devastated Nicaragua's economy and people, hindering the Sandinista revolution and allowing US interests to prevail in the country against the interests of these Nicaraguan people. And it just set a bad precedent as well, because then future administrations like George W. Bush was able to bypass international law for imperial gain, because obviously if Reagan can get away with it, why can't Bush get away with it? But it kind of explains, if you look at all the problems in America, just go back to, just circle it back and just keep digging, peel the layers of the onion and keep going back.
Like ogres like onions.
And just keep peeling it back, and you'll probably get to Ronald Reagan, and that's pretty much the source of pretty much every issue. He's like a spider web. He's just like the center of it, like all the little things that come off it, all center back to just neoliberalism and just like
him.
Unchecked, unaltered capitalism causing the problems of everything in the world.
Alright, what topics do we have next? Do we have it?
I don't think we...
Should we do a hot take?
Oh yeah, we didn't really prepare much for this episode. Because, we didn't think we'd be doing a whole lot. But we did leave a few of your hot takes over from the last episode. We didn't talk about them all. So the first one I have here is the USSR under Khrushchev was socialist. Obviously, as a Marxist-Leninist Maoist, I do not believe, obviously, that...
as a Zebulon G and Greg,
as a Gemini Taurus, with...
you had to say it like that as well.
Taurus, with my red gemstone, and the way that the chakras are aligning at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sensing a lot of negative energy from that region when Khrushchev got in. I felt it. I woke up in my sleep when it happened.
Yeah, Khrushchev definitely, his chakras were not in line. I like how at the end of every podcast episode now, it's just devolved into us pretending to be New Age religious people.
Yeah.
But, basically Khrushchev, he led a coup against Stalin's, after Stalin died, he led a coup against any actual, genuinely Marxist-Leninists in the party. And completely denounced Stalin for the most ridiculous reasons. His secret speech has been completely debunked. Every point he brought up against Stalin can be so easily debunked. But he then banned jazz music and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, he basically led... Well, you can trace... when you learn about the fall of the USSR, you can trace it back, like Ronald Reagan in America, how you can trace everything back to him being the start of all the issues. You can trace every fucked up thing that fucked up the Soviet Union and led to its downfall if you just go back to Khrushchev.
Yeah.
So, I do not believe he's socialist. He completely... When you sort of study Marxist revisionism, you look at figures like Kautsky and you look at figures like Khrushchev or Deng Xiaoping, the same way I view Deng Xiaoping in China, where he opened it up to American interests and just... America benefited off it.
Hey, put your businesses here.
Yeah, America benefited off it shortly, and then got fucked over by the Chinese anyway.
I don't know what they were thinking. Yeah, let's fund these guys and invest.
Yeah, and now China's going to become the richest country in the earth, and America's still pissed off about it.
It's going to be like China in a lot of times in history has been the most powerful on Earth.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. I don't think they're necessarily going to be the most powerful, but it's cool to see they're back up there.
Yeah, but obviously...
I'm rude and... No, I'm not rude.
We love Xi Jinping, we're committing treason. We're actually planning with the Chinese communists to invade Australia.
I actually don't like their regime at all, because I'm Australian, they're anti-Australian.
I don't...
Yeah, no, you don't either, because they're not...
I've talked about this before. Yeah. Mao Zedong... He basically broke away from Khrushchev because Khrushchev was a revisionist, and he led the genuine Marxist line from that point, the anti-revisionist point of Marxism.
If revisionism is anti-jazz, I'm a revisionist.
Okay. And then after he died, Deng Xiaoping took over and basically did the same thing that Khrushchev did, and that's why China kind of sucks now. When China was so progressive during Mao Zedong's regime, I'm currently working on a video. It's nearly finished editing, but I'll get it out probably in the next week or two about all of Mao's achievements. He did so much for the country, doubled their life expectancy, doubled their population, increased their GDP 5-fold, did all this cool stuff for women and all that in the country. 6'4", by the way.
Yeah, 6'4".
6'4", by the way.
Yeah, Mao was actually 7'5".
Yeah, Mao was. I think he was a short king. Stalin was 5'4", absolutely short.
Malnourished Asian man, of course, is going to be...
Stalin's the only bloke that's shorter than me that I'm genuinely scared of. Because he's 5'4", and that short man syndrome went so far. He was fuck it. You don't get any grain, Ukrainian.
And they're taller than an inch taller.
They're all just look like Somalians. They were just malnourished, tall people. He's it sucked in.
Abraham Lincoln, I'd be scared of him because he's taller than me, and he was actually in the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
It goes all the way back then, the records.
Yeah, he's a Republican.
But when the Republicans were...
Nah, Republican Party all the way. I like how the Republicans like to bring that up, that he was a Republican. and then half of their base is just like wave conservative flags and all that sort of shit.
If Abe, like Washington, were to be resurrected in New York or something, he would go on a wrestling rampage. He'd just enter, Congress, he'd suplex
So now
Trump.
you're bringing back George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
That would be so sick. If I ever invented...
And Ronald Reagan just to torture him.
Yes. No, but Ronald Reagan is biologically feasible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway. We'll see if there's anything else that we can actually talk about. We talked about communists, how they shouldn't tie their identity to past projects.
Yeah.
Next one we have is Hodges are just as stupid as Dangists.
I don't know these words.
Yeah. So Hodges, Enver Hoxha, leader of Albania, he sided with Mao over Khrushchev. But all the Hodges today are like so anti-revisionist that like even... They're pretty much like those Maoists in Germany, where like anyone that's like sort of out of like their like so radical like interpretation of communism, they'll just beat the fuck out of them. So Hodges like the so far anti-revisionist that they become revisionist in a sort of way too. But
how?
They're so anti-revisionist that they like every communist movement, the Bolsheviks, like the Chinese communists, they all worked with other groups that weren't communists to achieve their goals, and they all led that line when they took power. They led a genuinely socialist line. But these Hodges are so anti-revisionist that they won't work with even other communists that they perceive as being non-communists. So they don't achieve anything. But they do build really cool bunkers, which very like you can't hold it against them. Those bunkers are fucking awesome.
Oh, Australia. Yeah, it's really funny with Australia because in war, right, we never put many men in.
Yeah.
And we don't fund our military a lot before war. But when we get into war, like under Curtin, we just like go sicko mode. It's so good. Like we're building bunkers.
Yeah.
We're beating the Japanese.
Well, yeah, we commit so much war crimes that even the
no,
British...
that's new wars. Those don't count. Those don't count.
Even in World War One or World War Two, I can't remember what it was. All the Anzac soldiers were known by the British soldiers for being so brutal in so many ways.
Well, because the British put them on the front lines in Gallipoli.
No, that's the thing. The British put the Irish and the Australians
because they're lesser humans.
Yeah, all the other colonies that weren't really, truly pure British, and they put them on the front lines and then go, they're crazy. You see these guys? They're committing all sorts of... Not
really,
us.
they've just got PTSD and everything.
Yeah, they're literally just like every German-speaking person they've met so far has tried to kill them. So then when they walk into a house full of German people that are just freaking out because these guys have just broken into a house, and they're like, oh, they're all threats, and then just wipe them out.
Yep.
But yeah, there is a lot of documentation of like Anzac soldiers committing like atrocities. And then the British they were like, oh, they're like so crazy, da da da.
Not like us. Oh, it's funny because
we're too posh and superior to commit. We're just sipping tea. I didn't realise this was even a war. We were just chilling out in Europe, having a nice dandy little holiday, and these Australian lads, they're just mental cases. They're going around killing people. We would never do such a thing.
I hear they're descended from the convicts.
Yeah, they're actually all criminals, actually, because the criminal blood is still in them, and that's why they're committing all the war crimes, you see. We are very higher class civilians. We wouldn't commit any of these degenerate acts. Yeah, exactly. But that's every British person I talk to.
Australians were considered giants back then because Britain was so overcrowded, disease, everything. Yeah. Australians grew so much taller. So it's kind of good to have them on the front lines. Like Napoleon put all his tall guys.
But yeah, all the British kids I talk to today all still have that superiority complex from just hundreds of years of being told, you're better than everyone else. You have the right to take all their land. And kind of like the Ronald Reagan situation when you tie back India, Pakistan, Palestine, Israel, all these conflicts all around the world. If you just circle it back further, you'll just find Britain caused it. So, anyway, I think that's probably... Oh, wait, I need to finish this. We need to circle back.
What?
Dengus, right?
Oh, yeah, that.
Just people that support Deng Xiaoping and think that he's genuinely socialist. I don't know how you can actually believe that. But I think the claim here is being made that both parties are so radical that they're both just revisionist, which I would kind of agree with. I do like Hodges, and I've talked about Hodges before in a video. I've talked to a lot of Hodges within my party. A lot of them are very well intentioned, and I understand the fight against revisionism is very important to the communist movement. But at the same time, I think a lot of them, once they start actually organising in the real world, they sort of realise, hey, we have to work with, a lot of other people. Without compromising your goals, you can still work with people that don't have your interest in all. And you don't have to beat up other people at May Day.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, you have to. That's why I'm taking the steroids now. Any Antifa people. I mean, just... have you ever seen Nurmagomedov?
No.
The Khabib Nurmagomedov? That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leg lock someone, just snap their neck off. He was going to break this guy's arm, and then he's seen that their family members were out in the crowd, like the mother and father of the fighter that he's fighting. So he was very nice. He just leg locked the guy instead and choked him to sleep, so the parents wouldn't have to see his arm just be snapped off.
Oh,
absolutely! I'm going to show you the Khabib fights afterwards. He beat Conor McGregor. He's the reason Conor McGregor's career kind of went down the drain.
Stopped
Because Conor McGregor was like, you're like 20-0. He's never lost. He never lost a fight in his whole career. 29-0, something like 9 knockouts or something insane. But he beat Conor McGregor. He beat all these other like top fighters in his division. But Conor McGregor, when he was fighting...
On the topic of fights, the Tyson Paul one was definitely rigged or scripted. It's just...
Yeah, that's true. Because you see when you see, all the, highlights from it, if you watch Tyson's older fights, he's done the same moves that he done.
But he pulls himself back.
Yeah, and you can just see, it would be muscle memory, surely, for Mike Tyson. He's been fighting for these many years. He'd surely know, okay, I've done this a million times, crack them. Like he's done in however many fights before. But he's just biting his glove and just, there's videos of him just biting his glove, chilling, doing nothing. It's
like how you're biting your tongue to don't speak. He was wearing gloves so he doesn't just murder him.
Just smack dead. And the one time where he actually cracks him is the one time he actually starts moving. And then he just decided, oh wait, script, hold on, $20 million.
Why did Tyson have to betray us like that?
Bro, he's just trying to get that money. That's the self-help podcast that he's running probably isn't working that well for him. He got out of prison and just made a self-help podcast for men.
Mate, he's probably got so much money though.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, it's that was disappointing to see. I've got to show you the Khabib fights though. Absolutely insane. He looks like a monkey. But anyway, he knocked Conor McGregor was like, oh, you're only a paper champion. You haven't won nothing. You're just you just fight all these little fighters that aren't good, and that's how you rank up so well in your scoreboard.
And then he got wrecked.
And then Conor McGregor went in, got choked out, from behind. Khabib just he's like, what did he say to him? After he just choked him out, he just threw him on the ground, and the the referee had to pull him away because he was just screaming at Conor McGregor and everything. And then Conor McGregor's team was yelling at Khabib afterwards, oh well, fighters, and edging him to come closer, and he just pulled out his mouth guard, threw it through the cage at them, jumped over the cage into a crowd of 30 blokes and started fighting them all. And then 2 of Khabib's men jumped in the ring to fight Conor McGregor. And then
after he's been choked out.
Yeah. And then they basically had to pull everyone out the arena, move everyone away. And then the fight was called, the Khabib victory was called in an empty arena because everyone had to be evacuated. Because Khabib was such a monkey. Just jumped the fence and started fighting everyone. Absolute legend though. And then the guy that beat Tony Ferguson's one of the top guys in the whole UFC or whatever. But the guy that beat Tony Ferguson, he knocked Tony Ferguson out actually, which was insane. So he was top of the thing. That was Khabib's last fight. He knocked him out, and instead of breaking his arm, he decided to choke him out with a leg lock. And then just decided to retire at the top, undefeated, 29, after winning all these big fights against all the biggest people in the world. So I've got to show you the knockout fights though. I don't know how we started talking about Khabib, but I just love Nurmagomedov. Oh, that's why. I'm gonna just knock out all the all the Antifa blokes that I meet now.
Oh yeah.
Khabib.
We don't really have them in Australia though. Which is
yeah.
Is it still recording?
I'll check real quick.
I've got PTSD now.
Oh, that was so annoying. Yeah, it's still recording.
Okay.
That completely ruined me. I'm never gonna be the same.
Yeah, I
again.
know.
I'm never just gonna. I have trust issues now.
You beat your wife and everything.
Yeah, that's why I beat all 4 of my wives because of my trust issues from recording the podcast. But anyway, I think this episode went alright. But I'm hoping that'll save.
I'm hoping Dick Smith will notice.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got to edit that video now. I've got to re-edit the entire first podcast, and then edit this podcast and get them out. And
you'll have to like wait a few days to post this one though.
But yeah, and it'll be good. And then if we have a backlog or whatever of recording, because we have like a few tests and stuff coming up, at least we'll have like some like
stuff.
Yeah, some space.
Because I'm gonna have to be studying furiously tomorrow.
Yeah, same. But yeah, it should be good anyway. Kind of thinking like we do the coup segments on the podcast, because I think that'll obviously that's kind of the main thing we can just sort of yap about. But I was hoping that something would happen in the news that we could sort of chat about on today's episode. But
like if another genocide happened.
Yeah, it would be really interesting if something really horrible and like, I mean, there's enough genocides going on in the world that we could talk about.
Oh, so many. Yeah. Like, you know, the
Sudan, Congo, Palestine.
My favourite is the pygmies.
Yeah,
so you know the
that's
pygmies.
Congos, right?
It is.
Oh, talk about
and
pygmies,
other countries, including the Dinkas. The pygmies are like, you know, the tiny African people.
They're like they're all midgets.
Yeah,
they're all tiny.
Well, the other Africans consider them inhuman because they're short. So they do stuff like hunting them for sport and eating them.
And now they're all dying out.
Yes.
So
because collectively, every single other African's going, yeah, inhuman. So like throw spears at them. And
they're like the the gypsies. Every European hates them for no reason.
They didn't work.
Yeah, I know.
They just
and they're like. They were in Ireland and they take up half the road and they move against traffic. Oh, fuck. All the videos I get sent by all my cousins in Ireland are just like so racist against what they call tinkers, which is what their slur is for the gypsies in Ireland. But they just go, oh, these tinkers, and they're bad, and like they'll just send me videos of tinkers getting married and be like, oh, look at these genders, they're so disgusting.
Seriously?
It's just like, it's so normal to be racist. It's abnormal to not be racist at these gypsies, where my dad's from in Ireland. Everyone will be like talking about how bad the gypsies are. I don't even know these people. I've never interacted with them. So I'm just like chilling there, not saying anything, and then they're like,
I think it's just,
oh, we've got a tinker lover here, doesn't want to talk shit about the alright.
I think it's just travellers' societies in general that people don't like, because you can't tax them. They don't really work.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know what the beef
that
is.
Justifies violence. Now, end of the podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for the KKK podcast.
Hopefully this is recorded anyway. But yeah. Let us know what you want us to talk about on the podcast, actually. Yeah. Because
put it in the comments.
Yeah.
And say, bring Dick Smith on. Please.
I think we should talk about Margaret Thatcher in maybe next episode or something. Because we talked about Ronald Reagan, talk about Margaret Thatcher, and then talk about Robert Menzies, who is basically the Australian version of them too.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, that's enough yapping for today. My voice is so dead.
Why?
I was when you came in, I was singing. But yeah.
Your beautiful angelic singing.
Oh, I figured out what's wrong with my throat actually.
What?
I have an infection. So.
Oh.
Yeah. So
How'd
you know
that
how
happen?
we were making out last night?
Yeah.
I want to get tested.
Oh no.
Yeah. And yeah. Sorry about that, man.
Antibiotics? Is it bacterial or viral?
I'm just taking like little pills.
Oh.
They make me feel nice and happy. Which is they make me feel like I just could kill the president, you know? Or definitely getting raided.